Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Groovy. Waiting for the audio library to boot up. Hey there, hi there, ho there. This is RHJunior, RHJunior coming to you live over the internet through the system of YouTube, calling for all your ears to turn on for spleen squeezins. Hey, 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 hey. It's not much of a theme song, but hey, it's free. It's 9:50. Okay, it's saying that my resolution is screwed up, and I have no idea how to save. Full screen, docs, toolbar, multi-view, copy, film aside. Let's see, settings, general stream, output, audio, video. Okay. Let's see. They expect it to be. No, they're not having any trouble now. I have no idea what it was. It had some sort of. It had some sort of something or other. It was having an announcement. It was having a hissy fit, and it then it changed its mind and said, "Oh, whatever," and now it's running. I don't know what to think of that. Da 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 da. Honk. Okay. It has been a long time. I want to say, first of all, big announcement. Big announcement. The GoFundMe drive is finished. The goal has been reached. I have already sent full payment to the landlord, and I've sent $3,500 to the IRS, and I'm waiting to see the results, and I'm waiting for the IRS to cash a check, and then I'm going to send them another payment. I'm thinking hopefully I will have a little bit left over that I'm going to set aside to pay the taxes for this year. I need this fundraiser has basically booted me up into a new tax bracket. So I'm, some of it's going to have to be set aside for the taxes in April 16th, April 15th, whatever it is. But you get my point. So, more or less, basically, I'm back to square one with everything. I'm hoping, I've been doing I'm hoping that I have got enough in that I looked at it, and I was working on the assumption that I owed about $5,000 to my landlord and $5,000 to the IRS, and it looks more like they sent me a recent notice that says it looks more like $6,000, more like $7,000 that I owe to. But people made extra donations other than through hopefully I'll have enough to pay him and get it down to zero, or at least get it, chop it down to where it's actually feasible. I'll actually pay them off. Yeah. Well, my case of yards. Excuse me. I don't know. Don't know what I'm thinking. Don't know what I'm feeling. Feeling tired, actually. Let me check something. I just want to check and make sure this thing isn't doing random. Nope. Good. Okay. Okay, welcome aboard Shadow Hunt. A lot of back and forth stuff. A lot of I've been looking at my health lately. I may be ending up going back to the health clinic. You remember the last year I had to spend about 2 weeks there undergoing therapy because of my legs and some other, just some other things. I'm looking into seeing if I can go back for another couple of weeks for another round of therapy. See if see what I have to do to get that to happen, and get my Medicaid to cover it this time as well. It's been 1 year, so they should. I'd hate to think this becomes a regular annual thing, but it just might. I just can't do anything. I mean, I've always been a slob, but I can't clean up my house, do repairs, just do nothing. Just lugging my bloated carcass around the house is, but I'll see about that. Don't know what that's going to happen. Don't know if that's going to happen or not. Still made to be. I haven't even made the initial phone call yet. I'm still waiting for that. I'm supposed to. I'm on the dole. I'm got government help things all over the place, and I'm supposed to have sent. I've got this paperwork here. I was supposed to have sent it out, and it's supposed to have been sent out so it arrives at the office on the 20th, which is Monday, and that's not going to happen. Basically, because the government wanted this particular government office wanted to know, my income status, and this GoFundMe makes it makes things a little complicated. So I have to send them some sort of proof that basically they said, okay, this GoFundMe is to pay your taxes and stuff. We need proof that this is being spent on your taxes and stuff. And so I've been waiting for the IRS and my landlord to cash the checks I sent them, so that I can download and print the copies, the voided checks, to send to these people to say, see? But nothing yet. I'm still waiting. Well, the landlord has cashed the check, but the IRS hasn't, so far as I know. So, paperwork, that kind of stuff. I was lying in bed thinking all sorts of topics. All sorts of topics. Oh, geez, this was the envelope I was supposed to mail this in. I got all crusty cruddies on it. That's no good. Gonna have to make a new envelope. I was, lying in bed, thinking all sorts of clever ideas and topics and things to discuss on the show tonight, and I can't think of a darned one of them. Can't think of a darned one of them. Total blank. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank. It's just, I'm completely confused. I haven't got anything working out. My way is just not working. Oh my. Let me think. Are you still there? Shadow Hunt? Can you hear me out there? Is my microphone on? Yeah, my microphone's on. Talk to me. Tell me you love me. I will confess to I will confess to having spent a good bit of time this past week playing World of Warcraft. You see, in this new expansion, the new expansion, Battle for Azeroth, you get they have like 4 or 5 new entirely new races that you can play as a player character. Catch is that you have to unlock them, and in order to unlock them, you have to have at least one character maximum level, and you have to have them rated at exalted reputation with certain factions. Yeah, it's fun little complicated thing, and basically they are stingy as hell with the reputation points. No lie. And so basically they've got literally everybody going back to the previous levels and grinding, trying to get their reputation score up with one of the literally dozens of factions that the game has in it. And just getting little dribs and drabs. You know, it's just, like 10 points, 20 points, 10 points. You need something like 20. Well, let's just say it's an awful lot of grinding. And okay, I gotta ask. The first thing that crosses my mind is, what are they getting out of it? I mean, the game designers, Blizzard, World of Warcraft guys. What are they getting out of this? The players They buy the expansion, which is like $50, and they pay a monthly subscription. And that's it. The World of Warcraft guys, the guys in Blizzard do not make more money. They do not make more money the more you play. In fact, it costs them the more you play, because the more people they have playing, the more bandwidth they have, the more servers they have to have running, etc., etc., etc. So what they've done here makes no sense business-wise. They've set up a system where you've bought this expansion, you want to play all these cool new races, but you can't play them until you spend several weeks, literally, grinding and just taking up space, playing the same content over and over and over again, hoping that the monster you slay will drop like another 20 points of reputation for you. No, it's not player retention. It doesn't matter. In fact, this is contrary to player retention. Think about it. You've just gotten this, you've just gotten a new expansion. You're like, oh boy, I'm going to play all this new content. No, you can't. You can't play this new content, because you have to go back and play the old content. And not only play it, you have to play it over and over and over and over and over in order to open up the new content for which you have just paid. That's what I think it is. What I think is okay. Every year every couple of years they have a new expansion. Just about every year they have a new expansion these days. Okay, first there was let's see, what are the expansions? Okay, first you had you had the original World of Warcraft. Then you had the Burning Crusade, which was an expansion you bought, and it expanded the game, and it added more levels and more layers and more play, And then there was Cataclysm, I believe. Then there was the Lich King. Then there was Cataclysm. Then there was Mists of Pandaria. I like that one. It's like I don't spend I tend to level past it, but it's a very fun. Much more. It has a much lighter mood than some of the others. And then they had Warlords of Draenor. Okay, this in previous levels they had introduced these okay. Up to a certain point, it had been, elves and goblins and orcs and werewolves and things like that. High fantasy, middle fantasy. And it all meshed together. And then somebody got a bug up their rear ends and said, let's introduce bug-eyed aliens. And they introduced a race called the Draenei. The Draenei, rather. And these guys, they have, they are blue-skinned, tentacle-haired goat people. And they have flying, and they have a giant flying ship which they crash landed on the planet in, and they, crystal technology. It looks like they swiped it from Superman the movie, and and it just doesn't mesh. It really doesn't. They're not very popular. And then they came out with an entire expansion that was about the Draenei, Warlords of Draenor, where you end up having to go back to the Draenei's home planet, and help them save it from the Iron Horde. And the Warlords of Draenor was incredibly unpopular. There was a lot of things wrong with the expansion. First of all, one of the things they had you do is that when you go to Draenor, you pass through a portal in Azeroth, and you end up on the planet of Draenor, and you set up a garrison for either the Alliance or the Horde, from which you conduct all your missions. It's your home base. And the problem of it is that most of the play that revolves around the garrison, let's put it this way, it's a Facebook game, basically. It's farming. It basically turned the whole thing into Warlords of Farmville. And people resented that because, it wasn't any fun. The level setup was hinky, so that you spent several levels where you couldn't run any, your character couldn't run any dungeons or do any raids because you were in between categories for levels, and they did, and the Draenei are just not, they're too alien. They don't fit in with the theme of the rest of the game. Tentacle-headed goat people, blue Smurf goat people. And Warlords of Draenor was very unpopular. And then along comes, after Warlords of Draenor, comes Legion, which is basically about this, extra-dimensional army, demon army trying to invade Azeroth, and everybody has to go fight them. And the latter half of Legion has you going even further back. More Draenei. You go back to their ancient homeworld. Apparently, the Draenei have been on the run for like thousands and thousands and thousands of years, running from planet to planet, with a Legion right behind them. No, I'm not saying that they've jumped the shark. I'm saying that I'm thinking that whoever designed the Warlords of Draenor expansion is feeling pissy, and they also, and the ones that came up with it, invented it, and it was their baby, and nobody liked it, and so now they're sitting around and sulking. And along comes, it's time to make the expansion into Legion. So they set up Legion, to set up Legion and Battle for Azeroth, and they go, okay, we're going to fix it so that you have to play with our Draenei, whether you like it or not. And they set up this whole thing where you have to play with the Draenei until you're ready to puke blue, just to unlock the new races that come with Battle for Azeroth. It's because they're just feeling pissy. That's my theory, because there's no financial incentive for them to do things this way. Right now, the last several levels, the last half of Legion, of the Legion levels is, that are set on the ancient planet of, the ancient half-destroyed planet of Argus. It's packed wall to wall with players coming back, trying to up their reputation scores and just grinding the zone missions over and over and over and over, just so they can unlock one race. And then they're going to have to go back and do it all over again so that they can unlock another race. And on and on and on. And if they have Horde characters, they're going to have to do it for those characters. And Just basically, somebody decided to be a bitch. You're going to play with our Drenna, and you're going to like it. Now I've been I leveled up past Legion, and I was playing a little bit of Battle for Azeroth. Is quite good thus far. It's got you move into an entirely new bunch of they call them the Broken Isles, and there's an island set of islands called Kulturis, which is very piratical. It's very nautical themed, and is very very engrossing environment and characters and theme. It's more of a 15th or 16th century setting, than high fantasy. But it's very good, very fun, very entertaining. A lot of pirates, a lot of piratical themes. And and then there's going to be expanding out into other areas that are, and that's just the first area. So I've got to say, Battle for Azeroth looks like it's got a pretty good set of legs to it. But I'm still disgruntled because they came out with this race. Okay, let me. I'm gonna put it. They called the. For months, I mean, all the way back to January of last year, they were talking about a new race. A new race called the Volperans. And let me pull up a picture. Let me pull up a few pictures. I can see they went to incredible lengths, and this was all stuff that was data mined by beta testers, and it looked, for all the world, like they were building the entire race, up to be a new playable race, and frankly, look at this. An incredible amount of effort and detail went into designing these little fox characters. The costume range is unbelievable. Little baby one, little fox cub ones, and it looked for all the world like, hey, we were going to be getting a new playable, furry race, and I was excited for it. And then rumors started coming out that they were going to be a horde race, and I was disappointed with that. I don't like playing horde. Because if your character race is a horde race, you're either evil or an idiot. No apologies for saying that either. Because the horde, since the first expansion, and in every expansion since, the horde has been the bad guys. And even in the short part sections where they were supposed to be working with the Alliance together against a greater enemy, they were constantly backstabbing everyone and at everybody's well anyway. But anyway, I've been looking forward to these guys. No playable Volperans. They're just NPC characters. Just brutal, heartless tease for months on end. Now, it's possible they may do an expansion later on, or a correction, or something like that, or just a plug-in where the race becomes playable, but not this time. And so I was already just a little bit heartbroken. I'm like, Battle for Azeroth, I was going to play a little fox person. I don't apologize. But no dice. And what it looks like that the Volparans are going to end up being an NPC horde race, and I'm like, jeez. You know, I'm sorry. You know, look, the horde. Millennia-long tradition of invading planets, killing, enslaving, and eating people, destroying the world, sacrificing thousands of slaves to use their life energy to rip open another portal to a new world, which they are going to, you know, lather, rinse, repeat. Evil. And you got and yet you've got races like the Tauren and the Trolls. You know, they're supposed to be all back to nature and, you know, one with the Earth Mother and crap. But they're willing to sign up and ally themselves with undead cannibals, goblins who would basically be a shoe-in for a villain race on Captain Planet, and orcs who have been, you know, just turning every world they touch into a blighted wasteland. But oh yeah, you know, just every new, you know, every time they write up a couple of new races, you know, there's got to be at least one. It's just, oh yeah, let's sign up with the zombie slave driver cannibal world destroyers. That sounds like a great deal. But I do believe I've harped on that before. Yeah, I really do think this thing is not playing all the videos in my image slideshow. It's not. That seems awful soon to loop back to the first one. Hey, I don't apologize for liking anthropomorphic stuff. I write the stuff. I draw the stuff. Hello, ring ring. Yeah, and I love how they specify as furry bait. Excuse me. So every chick with green skin is Star Trek bait. People were freaks long before and long after, you know. Had last grocery run, I asked her to pick up some trail mix. She picked me up a tub of trail mix. It's a Tex-Mex Cajun style trail mix. You know, I can't I can't eat it. Can't eat but more than a couple of pieces at a time, or I end up, you know, rolling on the ground in pain. Lord Firebeard, we're talking about the new, sadly, NPC species in World of Warcraft, the Volparans. Oh well, you know. Speaking of wise, you know, that's the thing of it. They're apparently a desert culture primarily. They're desert foxes. What a surprise! Oh yeah, Battle for Azeroth is live, but the Volparans are nothing but background props. Haven't even gotten to the part where, you know, where they're a primary part of the story. Yep, Phoenix. I'm still disappointed. I'm still upset that they're not playable. You know, just all that tease, you know, for months on end. You know, they showed all these different costumes that they wear, and the poses and all the data they literally lifted, just data mined out of the beta of these little guys. Way too developed, and everybody was going, these guys are way too developed to be just NPC characters. And so what am I left with? Okay, great. So so what races did they give us? About two new versions of elves, a new version of a new variant of troll and orc that can stand erect, and moose people, which are just Tauren with moose antlers. And I'm like, this is not what I ordered. Oh, and they've got the two big ones is the Lightforged Draenei, the tentacle-headed goat people. But they're basically they're apparently super paladins of some sort. Because they're literally glowing from within with the light. And they have the Void Elves, which use the dark powers of the Void for their magic. And I've been trying to unlock the Void Elves, and I'm like, it's a ridiculous amount of grinding you have to do. You can't just play the thing. You pay for the expansion, and sorry, you can't play. You have to unlock these characters. You have to unlock these races. And what does that mean? It means you have to go back and play the previous content you leveled past over and over and over and over and over and over and over until you get your reputation leveled up with a certain faction high enough. And they are stingy as hell with the reputation scores. I don't like the Draenei. I really don't. And the more I'm getting them shoved down my throat, the less I like them. I'm sorry, these guys, the Draenei, blessings of delight and all that. But the whole story of the Draenei is that they have been losing a war continually for thousands of years. They're fighting the forces of darkness and losing brutally. And when I say the forces of darkness, I mean the demonic army of the Legion. All the Draenei have to show for it are a trail of planets that used to be theirs, but that their enemies destroyed behind them as they ran away. And I'm like, well, yeah, I want to be a champion of these people. Yeah, wow, wiki lists don't mean nothing. You can't trust them. The thing of it is that the Volperans, there's a race of snake people that basically preys on them. Takes them as slaves, uses them as food. And one of the early missions in Battle for Azeroth has you as an Alliance player glad-handing and helping out these snake people, helping them save their temple from some rebels. I'm like, they're cannibals. Why are we helping them? Okay. You don't need to know me very well to know that I would definitely run World of Warcraft differently. Okay, the first thing I do is that, you know, what they did with the Pandarans. The Pandarans, your character, it's the only race. The Pandarans are the only race that you can choose whether you're Alliance or Horde. You know, you go through the training levels, the first 5 levels, and then you get to make a choice. And I'm like, why can't any of the other races do this? Second of all, there should be way more than 2 factions. There should be at least 4, probably closer to 6, because the politics just don't jive. I mean, you've got the back to nature types, like the night elves, the Tauren, and the night elves and the Tauren. You've got the civilization builders. You know, they're either starting to build their civilization or are trying to rebuild it, like the blood elves, the humans, the gnomes, and the dwarves. You've got you got the let's conquer and eat everything people, like the orcs, the trolls, and the goblins. Or you could say the goblins were, you know, neutral, mercantile. And then you've got the outright evil ones, like the warlocks, the demon hunters, and the undead, the Forsaken. So that's at least 4 factions right there, just off the top of my head. But again, this is something I've griped about before. You know, I would have about 4 or 5 different factions. I would have it so that every character and every player, regardless of species, could choose what faction they wanted to belong to. In fact, I would have most of the NPC races they've got running around in the background playable too. Oh no, of course not. That's the thing of it, is that everybody comes along. I've said this before too. Everybody comes along. They come along with a new game. You know, this one's going to do World of Warcraft out of its business. You know, this one's going to beat World of Warcraft. It's going to, they call them the Warcraft killers. They never do. The problem is, first of all, these supposed these supposed Warcraft killers are little more than old-fashioned World of Warcraft with slightly new skins. It's just a new version of World of Warcraft dressed up in a new suit. Second of all, you got to take this. For instance, think about this. Basically, World of Warcraft is so large, it literally has the, you could list its membership as a population of a good-sized city, like New York or Hong Kong or Tokyo, and Every year they have a rush. Every year around December, they get a huge rush of members. As people go out and buy World of Warcraft memberships as gifts, they get a huge influx of members. And by January, by the end of January, they have a sudden drop off by about the same amount. That gain and loss that they weather every year is bigger than the entire membership of the next largest online game. They're huge. They're massive. They could weather epic levels of gain and loss over and over again, and come back. They've reached that level of inertia that you see in corporations like McDonald's, Microsoft, Disney. In a sense, literally too big to fail. I played RuneScape years ago, and I tried playing it again a short while back, and it is completely different, and it is cluttered, and I just couldn't hack it. It's too clumsy for me. Anyway, excuse me. Bit clogged up. The game that puts World of Warcraft in the ground is going to be nothing like World of Warcraft. It's that simple. If it resembles World of Warcraft in any way, it is only going to be incredibly superficial. You can't beat you can't beat somebody at a pie baking contest by copying their recipe. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, well, the problem is Overwatch and Fortnite are not competing with World of Warcraft. They're competing with each other. They've got more in common with each other than they'll ever have with a Mamorpager. The game that beats, the game that pulls away everybody from World of Warcraft is going to be some variation of a Mamorpager. But it is going to be something so revolutionary we can't even think of it yet. Oh, that's the thing of it. Don't mistake what the talking heads in the news talk about for being the public mind space. You get what I'm saying? These people don't, the people in the media, even in so-called gamer media, they don't have their finger on the pulse of anything. They're too busy fingering each other. Okay, that was nasty, but they don't have a clue. I don't know what it is. Is that my this latest feature with my Firefox It opens random minnows. It opens up, stories by pocket. And they're idiotic. It just the sort of drivel, these headlines, so-called, are the sort of drivel that would have been left on a real newscast 40 years ago. It would have been left till the end of the hour-long newscast. Excuse me. I don't know what that was about. But like I was saying, the stuff they call gripping news today would have been called a fluff piece 30, 40 years ago. They do not have a clue what's going on in America. That's how, I mean, come on. Trump's election caught them by surprise. You can download YouTube footage of that night, of the election night, and the look on these talking heads' faces. They're all smug and smiling at the beginning of it because oh, here comes Hitler. She's winning, and she didn't win. And she lost state after state after state, and by the end of the night, they're just staring at each other like they've just witnessed the 9/11 plane crash or something. Excuse me. They can't believe what they see. It's the end of the world for them. We just don't understand what happened. Of course, they did that back when Reagan got elected and got reelected. They actually came out and they tried to say, well, the reason Reagan got elected was because there was a poor voter turnout. Horse apples. It was the highest voter turnout in history. Of recent history, rather. And there weren't just, and they tried to blame it on the fact that, well, not enough minorities were out voting. Again, horse apples. They do not have a clue. They do not have the pulse of the Americans. They do not understand America. They do not understand the world in general. Even in the trivial stuff. This is why they keep getting caught with their pants down when their fluff trends don't take over the world. Oh, of course. Let's be fair. The press has always... It's never been about objective truth with the press. The press is a sensationalist organization. People who work in the news industry, they publish newspapers, one, to make money with sensationalist titles and headlines, and two, to push their ideas and ideals. Nobody gets into the news industry because they don't want to have an opinion expressed. You don't seize the bully pulpit unless you intend to be a bully. Let's be fair. That's the difference between the leftist press and people like, for instance, Rush Limbaugh. From the very beginning, but all the way back in the 80s, in the 80s and 90s, when Rush first started taking over the airwaves, he came out on AM radio and everybody started tuning into him. And he was clear from the start, I'm biased. It's called having an opinion, having standards, beliefs, and values. He never tried to pretend to be impartial or neutral or any of that other nonsense. He's like, I have my opinion, they have theirs. I have my beliefs and biases, they have theirs. You decide which one of us is actually hewing closer to reality and common sense. And people by the millions decided that Rush was talking sense. And we look at all these other spokespersons, Sean Hannity. And dozens of other spokespersons for the right. What's his name? That one gay conservative guy. What is he? He's gay, and he's dating a black man. And people are out there calling him a bigot, a racist, and a homophobe. And you're like, you just look at him, you're like, what is it in between your ears? Is it just a hamster in a wheel? Just some marbles floating around in about a half liter of Pepsi? What? Milo, yeah, him. What does it tell you when a flamboyantly gay person is more conservative than most of our young people in the educational community? And even that's not enough for them. Just crazy. He's messed up in the head. He's a homosexual. He needs help. He needs Jesus too. That's straight up. But even a person... That's the thing about conservatism. You don't have to be a perfect person to grasp that certain points of it are vital to your self-preservation. Well, that doesn't mean too much these days. He's Catholic. Everybody's, just about everybody's Catholic. Wasn't Hillary Clinton Catholic? How many of the Democrats up on the Hill are Catholic? The Catholic Church has demonstrated it's not particularly picky about who it scoops up. They got to come in more kids, something like 1,000 cases of across the world of kids being molested by Catholic priests, and the current Pope has only got one thing to say: no comment. Of course, what do you expect him to say? No comment is probably the smartest thing he could say. Oh, good night. We got an open socialist running, and you might as well call her a communist. There's no difference. Look, we're a democratic socialist. Oh, whoop-de-doo. You voted on doing something retarded. How special? The Donner Party was a democratic cannibal farm. Okay, we're going to vote on who we're having for lunch today. Well, they were still cannibals. Come on, people. Just because you managed to trick the majority of people into agreeing with it doesn't make it right or smart. Yeah, she knows that, Ben Shapiro wanted to debate her. That would have gone badly for her. Now, I've talked about this before. They had one of the scientists, a man with more letters behind his name, more letters behind his name, more degrees than the thermometer. Confirmed. Paleontologist, geologist, archaeologist. He had all the ists. Profoundly well qualified scientist with legitimate degrees up and down up the wazoo. He was one of the leading scientists of Answers in Genesis, and he went on TV to have a debate about evolution with Bill Nye the Science Guy. Now, Bill Nye the Science Guy has an engineering degree. And that's it. He's not even a scientist. Let's put it this way. Dolph Lundgren is a more qualified scientist than he is. The guy that played He-Man on that old 80s movie, him. The guy that played the Russian boxer in Rocky 4, that guy. Now, Bill Nye the Science Guy, but what he is a TV celebrity. What he is a TV celebrity. He's an actor. He's a performer. He's an entertainer. And that forum, just basically they might as well have gift wrapped it for him. You take a man with more degrees than the thermometer, but who is as boring as Ben Stein doing a monologue, versus Bill Nye the Science Guy. A children's entertainer. And give them an audience made up of people, made up of 20-somethings who grew up sitting on their little fat fannies in front of the TV set, horking down Captain Crunch while they watch Bill Nye the Science Guy do funny things with baking soda and vinegar. Who's going to win the audience over in that debate? He was so boring, he was so dumb, he was so lame. Bill Nye won this debate. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Dolph Lundgren, he has, I think, something like 3 degrees in, I forget what, biochemistry? Chemical engineering? Something like that? At least. So, literally, Dolph Lundgren is a more qualified scientist than Bill Nye the Science Guy ever was, or ever will be. But, my God, it would be, you'd have a better chance in a debate if you had Captain Kangaroo and Mr. Rogers as the opposition. That wasn't a debate, it was a farce. And the sad thing is that the guys that ran it didn't realize it. The guys from Answers in Genesis, I don't think they realized what they were sticking their foot in for. Because these are people, you know, they've dedicated their lives to presenting the proposition that the evolutionary philosophy just might be incorrect. And so they are already rolling up. They don't realize, they're not entertainers. And the sad thing, and it's a reality, is that to be an educator, you have to be at least in part an entertainer. You have to be able to hold an audience's attention, to dramatically present things, to stimulate their minds. And entertainment has always been better than that, than rote lectures. You know, one of the things I learned about, one of the interesting things I've learned about humor. Humor is very interesting. It has a very interesting effect on the human mind. They did is they put somebody in one of these brain pan scanning things to scan the activity in the brain, and they told them jokes. And a very interesting phenomenon happened. You know, they could observe. They wanted to observe. When they got to the punchline of the joke, a literal wave of activity, just sparks of electricity just rushed through the brain, front to back. They said it happened every time. If the better the punchline, the more vivid it was, apparently. And what they're saying is basically when you the reason it's a survival advantage. It is to our advantage to find startling new information to be entertaining and amusing. And what makes something particularly funny is when it changes our perceptions or our expectations. The element of surprise. So this is the reason that humor has been so pivotal in helping people learn. It's one of the major functional things in education and learning and understanding new concepts. Because in the ha-ha, you get a little bit of aha. You get what I'm saying? There's two ways to respond to a startling new development, speak in the wild, so to speak. One, you scream and run away. Or two, you laugh at it. Once your mind is determined that a startling new bit of information is not dangerous, harmful, or threatening, it uses the pleasure of laughter to help you ingrain that information, to grasp that perspective. Now, this guy I'm talking about, the guy that was the lecturer from Answers in Genesis, to an audience that came there that wanted to listen to him, to a church audience, they'd pay attention to him. They'd be interested in it. The average Christian, let's be honest, no matter how well educated the average Christian is, they are going to feel on the defensive when confronting somebody about the question of creation versus evolution. Because so much of our culture is wrapped around blowing the trumpet of evolutionary theory as being proven science. It's science. It's proven. It's it's not it's not even debated anymore. It's background radiation. Questioning that is, you're already on the back foot. So, an audience in a church is going to be much more inclined to be willing to listen to this guy and to absorb what he says. Because they're coming up with the confrontation. How do I talk to my relatives? How do I talk to my teacher? How do I talk to my classmates? How do I talk to my friends? Without sounding like an ignorant rube. They already think I'm an ignorant rube for believing in God. The old question: be ready to always to give an answer. For the faith which is for the reason for the faith which is in you, and a lot of Christians left feeling unprepared to defend their stance. There was a young adults book I used to have in my collection. I may still have it. It was called "Don't Check Your Brains at the Door." And it went over some of the, it was a study book on some of the various issues, social issues that a teenager often has to face when dealing with questions about his beliefs. And, the first thing you want to establish up front is that, no, if you're a Christian, you don't check your brains at the door to be a Christian. And he gave examples and logical rhetoric and arguments and facts that a young adult Christian could lean on when having his beliefs challenged. It's all uphill and upstream. Of course, that's the fate of any Christian anywhere. It's especially bad in our society, where we used to be a largely quote unquote Christian society. From our establishment, we were founded by Pilgrims, settled by Puritans. Those are two different groups, by the way. They may not have covered this on your Thanksgiving pageant, but the Puritans were not the Pilgrims, and the Pilgrims were not Puritans. The Puritans came later and settled elsewhere. But this country was founded and settled by Christians, and Christian faith, for all of its fractiousness, all the people quibble over differences, and everything from people quibbling over minor differences to straight outright unbiblical sects springing up out of nowhere, like the Mormons. It was fundamentally, it has been for 200 years plus. America was, by and large, a Christian nation and a Christian society, and we are reaching a point where our society is no longer, it's secular, which might as well be another way of saying pagan. And suddenly, the homeland we once knew is no longer there. This is one of the things they talked about. This is one of the things that the people in Answers in Genesis talk about. Is that there's an old Bible there's a Bible passage that says, spread the gospel first to the Jew, then and also to the Greek. Why specifically those two groups? To say, well, it was being metaphorical. The Jewish people already knew, for instance, the Old Testament, the premise of Jehovah God creating the world, and His promise of a Messiah, and so on, and just the foundations of the belief of the Christian belief were already laid with the Jews, and it was just a matter of presenting them with this New Testament. But the Greek, there was no common ground. You had to go all the way back to the beginning. You literally had to go back. When you were talking to the Greeks, you had to go all the way back to Gentiles, to non-Jewish people back then. You had to go all the way back to the principle, the idea of one Almighty God, one Creator, and the books of, and you had to literally go all the way back to Genesis and start there. In fact, there's a passage in the Apostles where Paul is confronted by the Greeks about his beliefs, and he literally, in one chapter, one of the books, he starts at the very beginning and just runs down a quick summary of the entirety of Christian faith, starting with Genesis and going all the way down. We live in we are no longer in quote unquote a Jewish society. We're in a Greek society. We are no longer in a Christian society. We're in a secular society. The vast majority of people, we've reached this is the first time the vast majority of people have never spent a day in church or Sunday school. And they have no idea, and they have only the vaguest idea what Christians actually believe. And most of it they picked up from some snarky little snot on Tumblr, with his favorite list of alleged Bible contradictions, Liberalism is not a Christian philosophy. Don't even try. Because the things the liberals say, the Bible directly contradicts. Starting with thou shalt not steal and working down the list. Tired of that song. There we go. Okay, let's see here. Been trying to write the next chapter of Lady Bird. Haven't gotten very far. Only gotten about a third of it done. Let's see, where is it? Manga Studio. Had kind of bad luck with my groceries this week. I found out that that Walmart no longer carries Tang and it no longer carries Quick. I'm like, you infidels. You horrible people, you. Quick. I mean, they took away my Tang. Took away my Quick. I feel robbed. Get some sliced roast beef from the deli. Come to find out I'd left it out on the counter overnight by mistake. Did it again. Doggone. Had to throw it away. Think I cried a little bit. Then I told her to get some trail mix. She got the trail mix. It's Tex-Mex trail mix, Cajun style. I mean, sometimes she gets stuff, and I'm like, you just had to pass up everything else that was there? Asked her to pick up some pudding mix for me, and she got the sugar-free stuff. I told her that, and she said, well, they were all that, everything else. And I'm like, I stressed it to her this time. Don't get nothing caffeine-free or sugar-free, or don't get no sugar-free. Don't get no sugar-free. Don't get no caffeine-free. Don't get no low-fat. Don't get no low cholesterol. Don't be getting that stuff. That's not food. That's people taking things out of food and trying to pass it off as being worth more. No, don't do that. Do not do that. I really need to draw something. Like, what on earth, you know? I have absolutely no idea what to draw. Okay. Really need to do a new comic strip, so. I had some great joke ideas too, and promptly forgot them. I used to wonder if half the problem wasn't that everything out there in the world is getting just too weird to make fun of anymore. You know, of all the groups on the planet to have made a comeback, the Flat Earth Society. What the heck? And I'm still going. Every time I think of them, I can't help but thinking, you know, somebody out there is trolling us. Somebody out there is pulling a huge prank. And you know, and any day now, they're going to jump out from behind the bushes with their camera and yell April Fools. People have done that. People have done weirder things. There was one guy who managed to convince the entire world that there was a society for the clothing, you know, for the prevention of indecent animals, and that their entire goal was to make animals wear clothing so that they were decent in public. It was just him and his best friend, just, you know, printing leaflets and stuff, and you know, and it got national coverage, and everybody believed in it. And there was another guy who convinced people. This was fairly recent. Guy convinced people that they were, his company was running a diet plan where, you know, a big, angry, hefty, Bubba-looking dude followed you around and forcibly kept you from eating. And he even got on the news, They did an interview with him and everything. And it's crazy stuff like that, and people have done that just for shits and giggles, and the entire world fell for it. Like I'm trying to think of one of my favorite ones. Oh, you ever heard this one? There are people out there that still believe this is true. This came out in the 60s. It was started by a college professor and his students. He was demonstrating how gossip and rumors spread, I believe. Just demonstrating, how gossip and rumors spread. And he and his students collaborated together, and they spread the rumor that roasted banana peels would get you high. And in no time flat, everybody in the country believed it. My own father believes it. I told him no, and I explained to him that it was a prank pulled by a college professor. And, I don't think he believes me. I'm not sure he believes me or not. It's hysterical, though. You think about it. That's how marijuana got. That's how marijuana got started. Marijuana is just, it was just hemp rope. It was a plant for making rope. And then somebody decided to, smoke it. And then they figured out that this weed that grew everywhere was a great load of fun. And then some puritanical ladder climber who was looking to lose his job as alcohol prohibition wound down to its deserved defeat, decided to scaremonger everybody about the wacky weed, the evil grass, the devil's the devil's yard clippings, ganja, reefer. And then they had people convinced, man, you would not believe it. They were convinced that marijuana would make you hysterically violent, that it would give you, especially if you were black. This was an interesting. If you were Mexican, it would make you violent, and homicidal. If you were black, it would give you bursts of rapacious super strength. Yeah, the whole drug war was started by some seriously racist bastards. And it was rubbish. It was all rubbish. Everything they've tried to scare people with about marijuana is just 99.99% lies. Of course it's not. Hell, you breathe smoke. It's not going to be good for your lungs. You overindulge in some chemical, it's gonna screw you up. But it's about a thousand. I don't use this stuff myself. Wouldn't want to. I've got enough trouble. Maybe. I'll be truthful with you. If it were legal, if the stuff were legal, legal as beer, and if somebody offered me, well, I'll be honest. If they offered me a brownie with, if they offered me a grass brownie, I'd probably try it just once to see what it was like. But I wouldn't want to try and use a spliff. I'd probably end up snorting it up my nose by accident or something. And bonk. No, that's no. Plus, I like brownies. Ah. I remember the one clip from that one. I forget what the TV show was. I never even saw it. I saw the clip though. Woman was going on about how she tried a pot brownie when she was in college, and she was she described it was just euphoria, the sensations and everything. It wasn't pot brownie though. It just turned out it was a really good brownie. But but just ours, we've the foolishness, humanity and its foolishness. They tried to weaponize marijuana, the government. They did all sorts of experiments on people in the government and the military to see if they could, with drugs and such. MK Ultra, they gave CIA agents LSD, didn't tell them what it was, things like that. Well, they tried to weaponize marijuana. They separated the THC. They concentrated it basically. Made it hundreds of times more potent. Maybe even just incredibly potent stuff. And they gave the result to their test subjects. They couldn't find their feet for a couple of days, but they were perfectly fine. Basically speaking, the toxic dose of marijuana is almost identical to the universal toxic dose, which is, this amount of anything will kill you. Let's put it this way, drinking a couple of gallons of water too fast can kill you. One of the suicide methods in ancient China was eating a pound of salt. They have never had a single case of someone overdosing on marijuana. This is almost biologically impossible. Every year we have thousands of people who keel over dead from alcohol poisoning. What do you make of that? I'm very libertarian on certain things. I'm very libertarian on them. But the problem is, I recognize, unlike most libertarians, I recognize that we could not have the license of libertarianism in our society until we did something about the moral degradation that has already eaten out our society. As our founding fathers put it, no system of government, no matter how well designed, is sufficient for an immoral people. We couldn't have the license of libertarianism until we reestablish the concept of personal individual responsibility in our society first. I think it's one of the obvious, self-obvious principles is that freedom comes when we prove that we deserve it. There are some freedoms that we should be innately guaranteed, but by and large, the liberties that a free, autonomous individual enjoys come with a hell of a lot of responsibility first. And we live too long in a society that refuses, has rejected the idea of individual responsibility. That's why socialism is so much on the rise, because everybody wants somebody else to be responsible for paying the check. This is how we nearly ended up with Bernie Sanders as a president. If it, thank God, and ironically, thank God that Hillary Clinton decided to run for president, because she's so crooked, she cheated him out of the primaries and guaranteed that Trump was going to be elected. Because even Trump, I think Trump would have had one hell of a harder fight getting elected against Bernie Sanders, because it's almost impossible to win an election against Santa Claus. I noticed this earlier today. I was like I said, I was playing World of Warcraft. I was running a raid. For those who don't know, you have a couple of different things in World of Warcraft that you can do. There's the regular adventures that go on in the regular, and then there are dungeons that you can go down into. You take a team of 5 people, usually a pickup group. Just random guys get together and you go down and run a dungeon. Kill the boss, kill all the monsters, take all the treasure, kill the boss at the end. Ta-da, 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 ta-da. Well, a raid is basically a much bigger dungeon with several bosses, and you can have anywhere from 10 to 25 people. And you can imagine that even if you can start a pickup group, or you can start a team of your own. It's basically it's like herding cats. Anyway, we got into this one mission. It's a necessary mission. You have to go through it in order to finish out the storyline in Warlords of Draenor and or Legion properly. Anyway, I set up. We need I want a raid party for this, and we all gathered together and we got at the entrance and we all went in. And not even halfway through, people started dropping out. We started out with 25 people, and by halfway point, we had lost half of them, because we hit one point where we were getting knocked back over and over again 2 or 3 times, and everybody said, "Oh, well, you guys all suck. You lousy players. You suck," and they all quit. And so we had like 10, 15 players, and then we decided to keep going. And then we got to we went on. We managed to beat the next boss. We we got stuck again. And people just dropping out, just boom, 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 boom. And they're all, "Oh, you suck. You don't know how to play this game. You suck. You suck," and and they all quit. And just basically just leaving everybody else in the lurch. Because when you have when you have 25 players and only 3 of them are healers, kind of important. And I was like, dang, this is what you get when you try and run anything with a generation that thinks that gets impatient with microwave popcorn. That used to be a joke. You know that? It was a joke in a comic book. There used to be a comic running called Impulse. It was about the Flash's kid partner. He had a kid partner from the future called Impulse. And it was a fun read. It really was. I really enjoyed it, and it was a shame when they just graduated that one out. But in one book, he was just absolutely losing his mind because he had lived his entire life up until his 13th birthday at super speed, and only recently had he actually even been shown how to slow down to normal. They had to put him in a virtual reality simulator just to keep him educated, just to give him an environment that would run at the same speed he was. And so for him, he wasn't a slow guy that suddenly got super speed. He was a super fast guy who was suddenly having to learn to do everything slow. And there's one scene where his girlfriend's standing in front of the microwave. He's running around the room, and he's in a dozen different places, tearing his hair out, going pop, 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 pop. And she's like, you're the only guy I know of who's too impatient for microwave popcorn. And I'm like, now I'm going, honey, you ain't seen nothing yet. We're literally of an age where people are too impatient for microwave popcorn. They're too impatient for a microwave anything. They made an interesting point, is that with all the, with the dishwashers and the the clothes washing machine and the refrigerator and the self-cleaning this and all the labor-saving devices. With all the labor-saving devices, from the washing machine to the microwave, the average housewife actually spends 2 more hours a day doing household chores than a housewife of 100 years ago. I don't know what to make of that, but it says something. Calling it liberal, calling what the founding fathers were based on liberalism or conservatism, it's misleading. Okay, what they were based on, the fundamental idea of objective morality and Christian values. Let's call it what it is. Call a spade a spade. They in the Declaration of Independence and in the Constitution, they couched it in what would be called secular terms, but the point of that was to demonstrate that the logic of their faith followed. We find these truths to be self-evident. Not only just, that they didn't just find them in the Bible, but they found them evident in nature itself, in human nature and in the natural world around them. Bugs. I got a bad plague of no-see-ums floating around here. They're quite tasty and a nice source of protein when you inhale. Oh, they were all different denominations. I know that. I know the founding fathers were all sorts of crazy denominations, and different beliefs, but they did have general fundamental values that they regarded as truthful, divinely handed down from God, and also self-evident in the universe around them. Don't know what kind of argument people think they're proving by saying, oh, well, they weren't really, it's not like they were Baptists or anything. What? No, Christianity is a Christian philosophy. Save it. Leave the euphemisms and semantics for those who exploit such things for ill purposes. You know what? I don't care I don't care. I'm not a Calvinist. I can thump on you on the points of Calvinism and why they're not biblical either. So, you best set that one down and step away from it. Oh my, let's see. I'm thinking many things, but they're not coming forward in my brain like they're supposed to. I really need to, I've missed the last couple of episodes of My Hero Academia. It kind of just, I really need to go back and watch these episodes. I really need to catch up on My Little Pony. When your entertainment starts becoming an obligation, it's time to worry. You know? I really need to... No. I used to play I got into Minecraft for quite a bit, and then I made the terrible mistake of looking up the cheat codes. Once I knew the cheat codes for Minecraft, it instantly got boring for me. It's like, why am I digging this? I can, why am I trying to dig for this ore or that ore? I can tap 3 keys and make a gigantic block of it floating up in space, Just basically, poisoned the well for myself. Found an interesting comic the other day. Is called Unordinary. It's a Japanese anime. The layout is really annoying because each issue is laid out vertically, and you have to scroll down to read it, and it's slow. And of course, it's very expanded anime, which means every issue is like maybe 5 minutes of action stretched out, and one entire issue is just them sitting on a hospital bed, and that kind of thing, and it takes forever to get anywhere. And there's let's see. Go back to the main page. I think there's 104 quote unquote episodes, and I skipped like the last 50 of them, and I really haven't gotten any further in the story. But moving on. The idea of the story is, everybody has superpowers. Everybody, and then the story follows two kids. A girl who is, they're rated on. People with powers are rated on levels from 1 to 10. 10 being the highest, obviously. And people having no powers is so rare. Even a little feeble power is so rare that they're called cripples. They're treated like cripples. And the story follows two characters. A young woman who is basically the most powerful person in her class. She's actually a level 10. She apparently has the Superman package, super speed and strength. And her best friend, she's also a juvenile. She doesn't bother showing up for class because in that society, everybody basically panders. The more power you have, the more they pander to you. And she's basically a juvenile delinquent. And the other character is this one boy who has, he is the most studious student in the class. Genius level smarts, hard worker, diligent, does the whole 9 yards. But he also apparently has no power. He has no power at all, and he's regarded as a cripple. And that's they don't treat him with sympathy. They don't give him they don't make handicap parking spaces for him. They mock and belittle him, and literally everybody in the school bullies him. And the title of the comic, Unordinary, is also the title of a contraband book that is so controversial that it got banned in their society. It's the premise was of a world. It was a fiction book with the premise of a world of people with no powers and one person with tremendous superpowers who use them to help. Basically, the Superman story. And apparently, this society is so hierarchical. Despite the fact that it looks like modern America or modern Japan, you couldn't tell the difference. It's so hierarchical that this idea is actually controversial and dangerous. In fact, people who have read it and taken they treat it as the people who have read it. There are several people who have read it and went out who became quote unquote superhero vigilantes, trying to help people in a heroic fashion. And the government is cracking down on this book to keep people from getting ideas. And the boy, it turns out, the boy with no powers, it turns out, is the son of the author of the book. And there's other things going on in the background. There's a lot of the superheroes, these new vigilantes that have been springing up, are being murdered. Some unknown gang is cornering them, killing them, burning the body, and leaving a burned brand on them, showing that who done it, and trying to squash them out. And also the students, they have tournaments. They call them turf wars, but actually basically just a little more than gang fights, where the top tier students go out and basically pick a fight with the top tier students from other schools, and just basically battle it out like a bunch of demented Pokemon, just to show who's boss and to earn status. Anyway, the point of the book is it appears in the latest chapters that the boy with no powers actually does have them. And in fact, he is actually a top tier superhuman like she is. But he has been pretending to have no powers, and he's only been using his regular human physical strength. The powers are all different. You got the super strong and fast. You got the ones who can shoot fire from their fingertips or have psychic powers. The usual superhuman breakdown. And that's what it boils down to. Is that at one point these two are talking together, talking about how different the world would be if nobody had powers. Everybody would be forced to live and be equal, and I kind of wanted to laugh at in their face. If you wanted to have somebody walk up to him and say, "Kid, if nobody had powers, you would still have hierarchy. You'd still have people who were haves and people who were have-nots. You just have different ways of establishing a hierarchy. People would come up with all sorts of things. Whoever has the most money, whoever has the best grades, whoever has a certain lighter or darker skin color, of all things. Blaming powers in this setting for the fact that there is a student hierarchy is missing the point. That it's not the powers that create the hierarchy, it's the students that create the hierarchy, using the powers as an excuse. And that's true in any civilization. Every civilization has some sort of hierarchy. Some are just, some are unjust. They're just how human beings work. This thing updates only once every Thursday, and it is slow reading, so I won't say I recommend it, because somebody has been seriously overstudying their anime and manga techniques. The expanded story, which goes on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, just getting from point A to point B. Think of that one season of Dragon Ball Z where everybody spent 3 episodes standing around screaming and grunting and gathering power. And nothing happened. Mm. Hey, Wild Wild Weasel. Here's the Wild Wild Weasel. Everybody, Wild Wild Weasel. Won't play the mama. They're doing another remake of The Grinch. This one all in CGI. And as usual, they go way out of the way to make the Grinch a sympathetic character right from the beginning. Oh, he hates Christmas because he was a sad little boy and sad little boy in the orphanage and he didn't have a nice Christmas ever. They're seriously missing the point. Missed the point, didn't read the original story. Goodbye. I'll tell you. And my mind just basically went blank. I'm trying to think and nothing's happening. I feel like I keep grasping for something, but I can't quite get it. I feel like I need 10 of me just to make it go of starting something. I don't know. I don't know what to think. If I stay up too late, I start getting, tired. I start getting depressed. Start getting morbid. Start thinking about what I have ahead of me to do, what I haven't done, what I can't do, but still needs to be done. And it starts grinding you down. My lawn is mowed, by the way. Yay. It only took them a month after I made the appointment. I basically had to pay the equivalent of a full summer. When I asked them the first time, they said they got me scheduled every 2 weeks, $40 to mow my lawn. And then they looked at my lawn as it currently is and said, "You got to pay $100." It cost me $200 just to get my lawn mowed because it was that badly overgrown. Every time I try to find somebody to mow my lawn, I would get them. I would say, you going to mow my lawn? Great, and then they never show up. Finally found that online service, and they played Merry Monkey Go, run around in a circle with me. They finally got out here. I figure I've got 2 more payments to them, September, before I cancel it for the year. May just cancel the service entirely. Well, what they do is that Task Easy, they provide the information on the lawn, the location, and everything, and they hire contractors to come out and do the work. And they looked at photographs of my yard, and good night. I mean, the grass was over 6 feet. The grass was over 3 feet high. The guy had to come out with a weed eater first. Amazing he didn't have to come out with a scythe. But it's all cut down, and I've got a lawn again, and at least I can stop worrying about getting more complaints about that. Now I'm having problems with the plumbing. Toilet overflows when I flush it. Something got down in the drain, and I'm going to have to fuss with that for a while. It's late at night, and I'm tired, and I'm just screw it. I'm just I remember what it was like when I could wake up feeling energized. When I woke up feeling energized, and I don't do that anymore. I wake up, and it takes me several minutes just to scoot my legs out of the bed, sit up. And then I just sit there for another half hour while I decide whether I want to get up or try and climb back into bed. I really need to contact that clinic. It's these legs. I've got lymphedema. I've got extreme edema of the legs, and basically means my legs are swollen up. They're almost as big around as my waist each. And the only cure for that is to literally be bedridden for a couple of weeks with your feet in the air. Not something you can do on your own too easily. But the last time I went to the arbors, they tucked me in bed and propped my feet up and kept them wrapped up. And by the time I left 2 weeks later, I was, my legs were down to almost normal. I could walk around easily. I could walk comfortably. Of course, within a week after getting home, they were swollen back up again. Because you can't unless you are one of these eccentric millionaires who can have their house rebuilt around a reclining wheelchair. It's not. You can't live that way. Oh my, I'm trying to think. Like I was saying, most I managed to work on today is managed to get part of the next chapter, Ladybird, written. That's not an accomplishment, really. It's not really an accomplishment. Every night, every evening, I go to bed and I think, okay, tomorrow I'm going to get up, and I'm going to get up early in the morning. I'm going to get up early in the morning, and I'm going to get up, and I'm going to spend the whole day live streaming and drawing. And every day I don't do that. Hmm. Oh my, what was it? I had a thought running through my head, and it ran through and kept going. And I said, bye-bye. Bye-bye. Wait, come back. We need you. Where are you going? You're too little to be out on your own. Hello. I don't want to go to bed yet because I don't want to shut down and go to bed yet because I feel like I'm quitting. I feel like I promised myself I was going to accomplish something today and I haven't. I ate some chimichangas and that's about it. Yeah, chimichanga. I didn't have some very much good luck with my groceries this week. I got some trail. I asked her to get some trail mix. She got me some Tex-Mex Cajun trail mix that literally I can't eat it because it is so spicy, it's so hot. I had to get some sliced roast beef from the deli, and guess which package out of all the packages that I put in the fridge, guess which one I left out on the counter overnight. Yes, I cried a little bit. I put in I asked her to get some mini pizzas. And she got these Totino's pizzas, and I toasted one up in my toaster oven. It had a crust like shoe leather. I asked, I got a couple of little deli boxes of chopped up melon. That's what it is. It's just cubed watermelon. And it has about as much flavor as if they had boxed up the rind. They apparently don't bother waiting until the fruit is ripe to dice it and sell it. It has no flavor at all. And I've got food. I'm grateful for that. It's just I don't know. It's like I'm rolling snake eyes on everything I try to eat. It's barely even sweet. It's watermelon. The bananas I got are going straight from green to rotten. No, you're not going to believe this. You remember they found those terrorists who were kidnapping kids, making it turn. They had about a dozen kids in a training camp where they were training them to do school shootings. They even killed one kid, and they had the body buried out there. A Democrat judge released them. I asked her to pick up some Tang and some Quick. Walmart isn't carrying Tang or Quick anymore. I'm like, what the heck happened there? No, Lord Firebeard, I can safely say I've never thought of making a messenger app or a Telegram stickers for a messenger app. I'm not chewing in your ear, am I? I love how these liberals are all, you got these liberals and social justice types all out in the street marching and protesting. We're going to go to war with you. And I'm like, what are you going to go to war with? Bongs and dildos? We're the ones with all the guns. Good luck, son. Oh, great. And the New Mexico compound where all these kids were being held? Destroyed by the authorities. Remember the Waco compound? They bulldozed that 2 days after they burned it down. Killed all those people. The government's dirty. Somebody's covering stuff up. Oh my. I've been diagnosed with a chronic fear of giants, fee-fi-phobia. Yeah, I'm looking through Facebook seeing if there's any actual new headlines. Oh my. Oh. Oh yeah, I know about that. That several years ago, people were grouping up to patrol the borders because the government wouldn't. Down in Texas, New Mexico, and the like. I bet you the liberals are throwing a screaming fit. Unsurprising in the least. You know what I always found primarily dumb about the idea of, in superhero comics, of superheroes registering with the government? Well, basically put, nobody, regardless of what superpowers they have, nobody is going to put on a mask and a cape and run around in the dead of night because they believe the system works. A person who has gone that far has decided that the system is screwed up. They're not going to come out there and sign up for a license. They're not. These are the people. Heroes are the people who have decided that they don't need the government's permission to help their neighbor, or to protect themselves, or to take on the people that are threatening their livelihoods and their lives. You're right, Wild. I'm really not on the ball today. I'm really not on the ball tonight. And I really do need some sleep. I wish I could get. I wish I was doing better by you guys. I'm gonna call it a night. It's been about 2.5 hours of me mumbling into a microphone. We'll see what we come up with better tomorrow. God willing, I'll be feeling better by then. I'm never feeling good these days anymore. I want to thank y'all. I want to stop, take a minute, and just thank y'all, because I put up that GoFundMe. I didn't expect half the response I got. I did not expect half the response I got. And it's a game changer for me. Once I send that final payment to the IRS, it's gonna change a lot. You know, I'm gonna be scratching to try and make sure it doesn't happen again. But at least now I have a chance. I'm just gonna try and spend a day trying to figure out where all my strength went. Put it in a box. Start saving it up for when I use it. I'm gonna go ahead and call it a night. Y'all have a good night. Y'all take care of yourselves, and God bless.